when you start with the right purpose, like something that just, again, I go back to, do you want to contribute to the world? Like this is your legacy you want to leave to the world. You're going to throw a lot of things at the wall. But if it's around that same premise, you're eventually going to figure out where there's a market for it.
Have you ever heard the phrase becoming the best version of yourself? Yeah, me too. But what does that even mean, and how do we become that person? I'm here to help you navigate through those questions and come up with actionable steps in order for you to live your best life. We've got to discover what we want. We've got to figure out a plan on how to get there, and then we have to go. We can't just sit and wait any longer. Life won't wait on us. So come join me on this constant journey to become the best version of yourself and to find your best you. I'll see you on the other side. All right, everybody, welcome back to Best You. I got the one and only Todd McCullough with me here today. Super stoked to have him. And we've talked in the past before, kind of a little bit about your story, but I kind of want you to start today with, what you were doing when you made the decision to move to California, kind of what went into that decision, why, and what you did when you got there and everything like that.
Cool. Before we go into that, can we hear you say "Go Gators"? Since you're a boy.
Go Gators! I will say it was back in the day.
There you go. I had to pay him to say that. What's up, guys and gals? I'm Todd McCullough. So what led me to California? To give you guys a little background on myself, grew up in the country in North Florida. It's a small town outside Jacksonville, kind of where football is religion on,
right.
Saturday. We go see Jesus on Sunday. It's kind of that type of town. Good place to be from.
Yeah.
And get raised. So, grew up a Gator fan and was fortunate to go live in that childhood dream, play football for the University of Florida. And, kind of after that, looking back, it was, to be frank, probably a little like lack of self-awareness, as you and I spoke about the other day, as far as what I wanted to do next. I studied business just because I didn't want to be poor. Basically, I wanted to make money. And what I didn't realize, just kind of the way God wired me, was that my work matters to me. Obviously I want to be super successful like yourself, like those listening, but my work truly has to make a difference in people's lives. And I ended up working an awesome job and learned a lot at Merrill Lynch. Was a stockbroker there. And Merrill was a great transition for me after football. But it was, I can remember and I've got some friends, some of my best buds are, financial advisors, and they absolutely love it and find great meaning in helping families. But for me, it wasn't my passion, my purpose, so to speak. And I can remember being in Ponte Vedra, Florida, and the nights were kind of like go to Ruth Chris, eat a nice steak, have a glass of scotch with clients, go golfing. The night at the TPC there, and in Ponte Vedra is the big golf course. And some of the people I was working with really enjoyed it, and it was a good life, right?
Yeah.
It sure as hell. I mean, I did insulation one summer in Florida during the summers.
So it's a heck of a lot better than that.
That's a hell of a lot better than insulation,
Yeah.
I can tell you that. And so I was like, all right, this is good. Got the suit and tie. And I'll never forget, I was at a gas station one day in Jacksonville. And I've got my pickup truck, and I get out to go pump gas, and I've got my fancy kind of New York Merrill Lynch suit on. And this old country guy comes up to me, and he's like, Sonny, he goes, those two don't go together. Either that suit or that pickup truck's got to go. And I was like, shit, you're right.
Oh my
you're
gosh,
right. So I got rid of the suits eventually, but ended up. There you go. So a girlfriend I had for like 5 years at Florida. We ended up not working out, and was looking for a new experience. Ended up in LA with a buddy of mine that I played football with, visiting him. Had Merrill Lynch transfer me out to LA, and as soon as in the process of this all happening, the market crashed in 2008. So I went from like good stable career, Todd's doing great. Everything is bright, to holy shit.
Yeah.
Everyone's getting laid off. And it wasn't 4 months out there, didn't hardly know anyone, and I got laid off as well. And, looking back, kind of God's timing was, if I'd have been there, honestly, for a year and got laid off and the market crashed, I probably just would have went back to Florida, had my LA experience, and went with another firm. But I was like, I'm not ready to leave yet. There's an experience, there's something here that I need to learn and grow from. And so I took all my suits to Goodwill, got some board shorts, and started handing out flyers. And it sucked for 2 years. I mean, I went, like I said, from making a decent living to struggling. I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, always the story I like to share all the times. I can remember, dinner, Trader Joe's, you could get the ahi tuna packs, which had 2 pieces of ahi tuna and brown rice, and you could make a good dinner for about $2.19.
Oh my gosh.
Hopefully you had a little tuna left over for tomorrow with rice. And so that was it for about 2 years, and just took to the streets. But what happened was I started to feel alive again, right? Mm-hmm. So everyone's like, oh, are you coming back to Florida now? Are you going back to finance? I'm like, I feel better now being broke than I did making money as a financial advisor.
Gotcha.
And I was like, I don't know where this is going. I don't know how to make it, a life that you can actually support yourself on, or much less a family. But I started to feel alive again for the first time since football.
And you were handing out flyers to train people.
So, like I said, I didn't know anyone there, other than my buddy who lived about an hour north that I visited. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I mean, I learned a lot of great lessons at Merrill Lynch. It truly was a great experience. One of the things I just learned, average of numbers, right? So I knew if I put enough flyers out, I eventually would get a hit. Not the smartest way, but I was stubborn enough to stay with it. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'd put flyers out in Santa Monica, Brentwood, and the Palisades. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturdays, if you've ever been to Beverly Hills, they have these garages. And I would go flood all the garages, all their flyers. And so I did a little fitness modeling, anything I could to pay the bills, had some nice photos, and anyone who literally had a pulse, I would train. Had boot camps going on the side. And you're looking back, there's actually a few people in LA that have had a lot of success in their careers who used to come to my boot camps. And it's awesome looking back where, you're both everyone's just trying to make it and figure it out. And, the people that have that discipline end up making it.
Gotcha.
That eventually led to, from the boot camps, started picking up private clients. They started paying more than I ever thought people would pay. One of those flyers, literally after a year and a half. So imagine that now, almost consistently for a year and a half, putting out flyers and no hits.
How were you able to keep that motivation to keep doing it, even though
I think that's I think again, I started to feel alive again, and the popular word now is like, what's your why, right? I don't know if I thought as much as that. It's just like I knew God had given me gifts to help people and inspire people, and that I was tapping into them. And I didn't know what the hell that looked like, but I knew I was tapping into it. And I felt that if I applied myself, I could be the best trainer in LA. I felt like if I worked my butt off, I could make a good living in finance, but I never would be probably the greatest financial advisor. But I thought I had a chance to be the greatest personal trainer if I applied myself. And so, again, like if I was getting, I finally, make a little bit of money, then I'd go pay a boxing coach to teach me how to box. I went and learned and became certified in yoga from the best yoga studio. And just constantly kept working on these skill sets because I was passionate about it, and I felt like I was living that purpose, even though the money wasn't quite working out yet. And eventually that one of those flyers got me into a building where like the who's who of LA live. And I think just because, my training style was different, most of the people there were from Equinox, which is a really high-end boutique gym, and they had clipboards and well-dressed. And I was the guy from North Florida blasting Eminem and boxing and doing yoga and, yelling. And within 6 months, I was training half the building. And then even LA becomes a small town within a certain small community. And that went from one building to another building to another building. Where, before long, if you moved to LA from, New York or Paris or London or wherever, and you knew there was a good chance you were going to get my business card from someone. And so that's kind of how.
So what would you say? I think that's something that's really cool is that you spent that year and a half passing out flyers or hanging up flyers to 2 years, and you weren't really making the money wasn't necessarily there. So what would you say to people who maybe have spent a year chasing their passion, but they haven't met it yet? The financial part of it isn't there yet, and they feel like they could just go back to doing a job at Merrill Lynch or another financial job. So what would you say to that person in order to keep pursuing what they want to do?
Well, I would, again, this is my way. I can tell you what worked for me. I can't tell what works for everyone, but I think it's a good idea to ask yourself before you start any business, because the odds are stacked against you, right? It's that, are you willing to dedicate the rest of your life for this mission? At least the next decade, right? Like you and I were just talking about our friend, my friend at the Whole 30, Melissa, and they've been at that for almost a decade now. And the first couple of years, no one knew who the hell they were, right? And for me with T-Mac Fitness, I discovered this part of yoga that I knew that I was so passionate about sharing with my athletic friends, And then I wanted to share so much about the athletic world with my yogi friends. And so I'd be out in the park just experimenting for hours on new workouts and trying new different things, just because I wanted to share that. And so for the person at home that's, hasn't made it work financially, and look, I'm still learning too, is that don't be like, there's nothing wrong with taking a 9-to-5 job. Like if this is truly your passion that you're going to commit your life to, you'll work nights and you'll work weekends, bottom line. If you're not willing to work nights and weekends, then it really is not your passion and you're just trying to make a quick buck, which is fine, but don't kid yourself.
100%. Yeah. So when you got laid off with Merrill Lynch and then you decided to go start handing out flyers, what was the gap time between being laid off and then hustling to hand out flyers? Was it quick, or did you have to kind of, take a few weeks to mope, or what was that transition time like?
I think one of the greatest lessons, what I always encourage team sports, as an athlete with football, probably one of the reasons I was training people and not continue playing is I had a surgery almost every off season. So I had like 3 knee surgeries, 2 shoulder surgeries. So it's like you earn a starting job at Florida, and then you got to earn it all over again. And I had 4 different, I think, looking back, right, I think what prepared me as life as an entrepreneur, without even realizing it, is all the surgeries. Then I had 4 different linebacker coaches at Florida. I had 4 different defense coordinators and 3 head coaches. So normally you get a starting job at the University of Florida, you have it until you screw up.
Right.
Well, every year I had to learn my job. I earned my job and had to go through an extensive rehab program. And so what that built for me, it was like, you don't have time to sit on your laurels. Like, I mean, it don't sound like harsh. Other than maybe your mom, no one really gives a shit.
Yeah.
That's the truth, right? It's like, I want to see you do well, but if you're suffering over there, like, not many people, like, it's rare to have people that truly, other than your tight group of family and friends, that care. And so I just didn't see the benefit of me sitting around, like, licking my wounds. And so when I got laid off at Merrill, I went straight to, like, a lady cut my hair, had asked me to train her.
Wow. Perfect.
While I was working at Merrill Lynch. And I was like, I don't do that.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of these times we're kind of pointing to it, right? Because she wasn't the first one that had asked me that. And I was like, no, I don't do that. I manage stocks and bonds for people. Their portfolios, right? God was just like telling me what to do, and I was wasn't listening. And so I started training. I would drive all the way across town, which, anything in LA, that is a pain in the ass. I would get to their house. They had a private gate. And I would drive all the way across town and back for $50, which I would spend
almost losing money.
I was literally losing money, and I would, I would literally have to hop the gate to the side because they were still sleeping, and I would knock on their bedroom door, and the husband would wake up smoking some weed, waking up, and he would open the door for me, and I would sit there and watch, the stock market for him for the first 20 minutes, and then when his wife came up, the woman that cut my hair, we would train. So I would spend the 3 hours of my day making $50.
Wow.
But
why was it worth it to you then?
Shit, you had to pay the bills.
Yeah.
There wasn't no one else giving you anything, And I knew, again, I didn't know what it was going to look like. I didn't know if I'd do it long term, but I knew that I was good at this.
Yeah.
I could be really
You felt like there was some kind of maybe future there.
Yes.
Okay.
Something along those lines. So, that would be my thing is, for all those out there, again, ask yourself, are you willing to dedicate at least the next 10 years, if not your life, to some sort of purpose? And again, for me, that still to this day is sharing what I've learned from yoga and athletics to help people have access to a positive mindset.
Yeah.
Right. So what we do now is online. So online 20-minute workouts, no equipment, no excuses, is what we say. And each workout ends with a brief meditation, and that's what it is. Right. We're giving people the tools that I learned as an athlete, but we're also merging it with yoga. So you're having that guy in Georgia, you're from, right, and he's going to wake up tomorrow morning. He's got 3 kids, and he's going to get up at 5:30, and he's going to do his workout, his T-Mac 20 workout in his living room. And at the end, he's going to do a brief meditation. And he's going to say, I'm doing that yoga stuff, and it ain't that bad. And on the other side, you're going to have the guy out who, maybe went to UCLA and is very experienced with yoga, but doesn't do a lot of HIIT training. Right. He's like, crap, these workouts are kicking me butt, but I feel stronger. And so that, to me, I get a lot of joy and satisfaction.
So let's segue a little bit into that meditation then. I know it's a 4-step process. Tell me a little bit about how you came about creating that 4-step process and kind of why each step and what each role is to those steps.
Yeah, and I think this is kind of like an extension. Again, I was talking to Melissa the other day, my friend who started Whole 30. And again, for all those back that are listening to this, like when when you dive into something you know you're aligned to do, you don't really know what it looks like then, but it always ends up kind of working out.
Yeah.
And this meditation part has kind of come to that because, I was fortunate, to come to know God at 12 years old and gave my life to Jesus Christ. And ever since I was 12, every morning and at night, I would pray, right? And I've been doing that since I was 12. And as I got older and, dove more into the yoga world, my broad view of humanity started to change a little bit. But more importantly, I learned this skill set of meditation, where it actually says in the Bible, meditate on the word, right? And started to figure out, well, how could I take my morning prayer and learn and take the tools I've learned from yoga to make my prayer better, to be more in tune with God. And again, all by accident, that my old injuries flared up pretty bad a couple years ago. And for me, probably like yourself and a lot of you that are listening to this, you have to start your day with some juice, right?
100%.
Absolutely. And so my knees got so bad I couldn't do anything on my knees. My upper body got so bad I couldn't even do a push-up. And it's one thing you can work around with one injury, a lower or an upper.
Yeah.
But when you have both, it's tough. So what I ended up finding, the only thing I could do to kind of help jumpstart me was, if you've ever been out in the Pacific Ocean, it's freezing cold, especially during the winter. Mm-hmm. So, high 50s. Is I'd go out there at sunrise, jump in the ocean, go into the waves, and swim around for like 20 minutes. Yeah. And that first 5 minutes is brutal.
Oh, yeah.
It's brutal. And you're out there by yourself. There's no one coming to save you if you pass out.
No doubt.
Right. So what that does is it makes you come back to your breath very rapidly.
Okay.
Right? And it just totally shocks your system. And I kept doing that, and I kept getting better at it, where I could eventually almost remove my mind from my body and look down at this person freezing in there and not feel the cold. And so then I started taking that on the sand and just started getting my morning prayer. And kind of through that led to this four kind of part prayer that I just started doing for myself and then started incorporating my workouts, and people really enjoyed it. And now people kind of from around the world are, doing their workouts and their CrossFit, they're in yoga and our Team Act 20 workouts and doing this 4-part meditation. And that's super cool.
Yeah.
Like for me, it's letting people, honestly, I don't give a damn, what your religious affiliation or spiritual affiliation is. For me, it's just, I believe we're all brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
And these are tools to help you connect and be a better human being. And the better off you are, the better off I am.
I think it's so cool that it just came from kind of you figuring out what was going to work best for you, and then you realized that this is something awesome, and you shared it with other people, and it resonated with them, and then it just kind of took off from there, right?
Yeah, and it's something I would encourage everyone to try, right? And honestly, if you're a little bit younger than me, I don't know if it would have resonated with me at your age, right? But now it has, right? And so for what that part has done for me is, a friend of mine said it best the other day, is when she's praying, she's talking to God. And when she's meditating, she's creating the space to hear God. Mm-hmm. I think that's the big difference, right? And so people hear all the time, meditation's great for you. I've heard that, right? And it's just not very practical, right? Mm-hmm. I'm from North Florida, bro. I'm not going to sit there and levitate, and it just doesn't resonate. But if you shock the system, whether it's a workout, a cold plunge, one of our Team Act 20 workouts, you've got the blood flowing, right? And then you drop in, right? And so I think that's the key, right? For at least the majority of us, is that shock the system, whatever that looks like for you, morning run, whatever, and then do this 4-part meditation, and then use that as a template, and then make it your own.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to say this is the only way to do it. I can say this is what's worked for me.
100%.
It's helped a lot of other people. But some of the benefits of it is pretty incredible in the sense of, say your personal relationships, say you and your partner are, having a fight. You're able to remove yourself from the personal. But again, let me back up and say this is a muscle. It's just like doing squats. It doesn't happen overnight. But eventually, you can remove that heated argument, and you make a positive choice going back to your loved one. Mm-hmm. And the same thing in business, right? You may ask for feedback on this podcast, and I say, hey, this was good. This part was really bad. But knowing that you can actually listen to that as opposed to saying Todd's attacking you as an individual. Yeah. And then that part has helped my business in so many ways, right? Because you're pitching your business, you're doing a lot of things, and it removes the personal from it, and you can look at things objectively.
Gotcha.
Which is huge.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that, to me, that what you just talked about resonated with me very much so in my relationships with others. I've been really consciously working on not being reactive towards situations, because in the past I think, if somebody said or did something that I didn't like, that I might snap right back at them and, yell or whatever it be at the situation. But I've done a much better job of being able to hang on a second. I can tell it in the car driving through traffic. I'm so much more patient, just being realizing that it's not all about me. I need to remove myself from the situation. And it just made everything so much better.
It's a natural reaction, right? I push you, you want to push back.
Yeah.
Right? And it's very natural. But when you can actually remove yourself from that and look at things from an objective view, it's a game changer, like I said, personally and professionally.
Mm-hmm, no doubt. So you mentioned Melissa Hartwig now a couple times, the founder of Whole30, and you've been good friends with her now. Just tell me a little bit about maybe some of the things that she's taught you and the most important lessons that you've learned from her.
Yeah, Melissa, is one of the co-founders of Whole30. Her and her ex-husband Dallas created it, almost 10 years ago now. And Melissa's kind of taken and created an unbelievable community. And the things that I take that really resonate with me is that for all those entrepreneurs out there, create something that changes people's lives, right? Like, you can do all the clickbait, you can do all that, web hacks and all that stuff is great. You need to learn and sharpen your toolkit, but create something that helps people. And not only will you be more successful that way, but you'll find more enjoyment in doing that.
No doubt.
I was sharing with you some of the stories I heard from people that were doing Whole30, some of the people that are doing the Team Act 20 workouts, and that motivates me to go be better. And don't get me wrong, I want to make a shit ton of money. I don't hide behind that, but I also want to help a lot of people. Right. So that's the thing I've learned from Melissa is that, this book's been around almost a decade now, and it stood the test of time because it truly helps people. There's no quick fix to it.
Definitely. I think it's really cool, the kind of connection that I just made from you talking about her and you talking about you developing your yoga thing and kind of what I'm trying to create with my business, because my thing really stemmed from figuring out what works best for me and how I can establish the, best version of myself and build myself up by creating healthy habits, creating a good workout routine, creating all these different things. And for you, it came from, putting yourself in that freezing ass water and then coming out and having that little bit of yoga. And Melissa had to go, figure out her nutritional standpoint. So it was figuring about what worked for you and being like, I'm only so special. This could probably work for some other people too.
Right. And one, I want to hear, what are your kind of life hacks? Go into that. Tell me that first.
Yeah, for me, me is waking up in the morning and controlling my first 45 minutes of my day.
Yep.
I wake up, I brush my teeth, I make my bed, I write 3 things I'm grateful for on my whiteboard. I say them out loud, speak them into the earth, and it makes it that much more real to me.
Yep.
I write the date on the board. That way I'm much more present in today, and it's August 14th is the only time I'm going to be able to have this day, and it makes time slow down for me. And I started doing that because every single year, the last few years, it'd be like, oh my gosh, it's March already. It's April. It's May. I'm like, what the heck? I want to slow this thing down. And I swear I've done this for the last 2 months, and it's completely slowed things down. And it's funny that you mentioned the cold, jumping into the cold water. I can't do the entire shower, but the last 10, I take 10 deep breaths in cold water. Yep. I turn to freezing and I take 10 deep breaths to make sure I can control it. Yep. Because one thing that I wanted to help me do is public speaking. That's one thing I want to be able to do in the future. And I realized that when I get in trouble public speaking, it's when I rush my words. Yep. And I stumble on my words. But being able to control my breath like that has already helped me speaking in terms of that. After I finish that, I read the Bible. Yep. I have this app that I've been going through to read it in 1 year. And that's basically I do that every single morning. Right. 100%, maybe 6 out of 7, if not 7 out of 7, and it just sets me up for unbelievable rest of the day.
So we call that getting your mind right with Team Act Fitness, right? So we have 3 pillars. This kind of the company's built on: sweat, eat, and mind right. Mm-hmm. And so you're doing it, bro.
Trying to.
And I'd say one of the other things too that you'll see with the cold shower and the breath and the meditation is when you're writing down the day, is you start to become more present. Mm-hmm. So you start to understand and see body language in a way you've never seen, right? Like you can see the facial expressions. Someone's tense, someone's angry, their shoulders, where their hands are. And it just makes you so much, like you said, more present in their day. So it's definitely a valuable tool.
So when you say mind right, what does that mean to you?
Mind right for me is just simply you are connecting and doing your best to be in a positive mindset. And for you, it's your morning routine. For me, it's very similar. I always wake up every morning, I move first thing.
Yeah.
Again, whether it's a TMAC 20 workout or CrossFit workout or yoga, I move first thing. No social media for at least the first hour or two, most likely
Same.
2 of the day. And then I always do the hot shower, finish with cold, put something positive in my mind, whether that's the Bible, whether that's some sort of inspirational reading, whether that's some sort of gospel music, something uplifting, and program my mind each day. But the mind right's also it goes a little bit further in the sense that I truly believe that we're all connected, right? And the way that I created the program was not to make it some like Christian only type thing. Right?
Yeah.
I truly believe that we're all brothers and sisters, and I wanted a way for everyone to connect to their spiritual practice or themselves, or however they even look at that, in their own unique way. And so that's, to me, is like mind right. It's like this understanding of that we're all in this together.
Yeah.
And that's the part of it to me that's really important.
I think it's funny because we both talked a little bit about like kind of speaking positivity into your morning, and it's not like I write down those 3 things I'm grateful for and that's all I can think about all day long, but just for whatever reason, speaking that out into the world and just kind of setting the tone to start, it allows me to just kind of carry it through. Because sometimes, in the middle of the day, I'll try to think back, what were those 3 again?
Yep.
And I can't even put it into words exactly what it has done for me.
Right.
But I just know it has 100% helped me. And one thing I want to also speak to about kind of like creating the healthy habits, or creating like the morning routine. It took me forever to find that morning routine that worked, right? I kept, I'd insert this, take it away, switch it at a different time. But I've kind of been with this for the last 2 or 3 months, but there's minor tweaks here and there depending on the season of your life, if you will. But it definitely was a practice to try to figure out what worked best for me and put me in a positive mood.
Yep, and I think everyone has to try that, right? Like hopefully you get a few tips from here, and you go to practice at them, and some work, some don't, and you keep tweaking and working. But do you remember? I don't know if you've done the meditation or not. Do you remember the first part of the 4-part? Do you remember the first part? Put you on the spot.
I don't. The one?
Gratitude, right?
Okay.
So
okay.
Right. So you're right doing your 3.
I think that's why I didn't.
Right.
Because
the first part of the 4-part meditation is just gratitude, right? Like, and so the one thing that's consistent, the movement's usually always different for me, the exercise, but the one thing that's consistent is always finished with this kind of morning meditation. And the first part is just always gratitude, right? You got to move your body. I mean, think about how freaking lucky we are to move our bodies. I mean, really, appreciate that. You have a roof over your head. You have food to eat. I mean, there's people in the world who don't have this. And I mean, don't just do lip service. Truly feel that gratitude.
Yeah.
And the second part we dive into is lifting up a loved one.
Yeah.
Right? This is something of all faiths talk about, right? It's like understanding that it's not about you. So visualize someone you care about today. Could be a friend, could be your partner, whoever that is, and just see this glowing light kind of hovering over them. See a smile come across their face. And for me, often it's my brother who's a police officer. I see him coming home from work, hugging his 2 kids. And you'd be surprised when you get into the really details of that. Almost a smile comes over your own face because you're seeing someone you care about happy, right?
I was getting ready to say the same exact thing because that was the one that resonated with me 100%. I still remember sitting on the mat over at training camp when you were talking about that. I pictured my sister going to my head, and I 100%,
you smiled.
Eyes closed, smiled.
Because you're happy to see someone you care about happy.
Yeah.
Right? So your state's already changed. The third part is to go into visualizing success, right? Again, prepping for success today, right? Like, so you had this podcast today. Already feel what a successful podcast is going to be like today.
Right.
Have that moment. This is a great thing to apply for business meetings, for athletes. I have a lot of people that do it that are busy mom and dads, and they just want to see their kid have fun after school.
No doubt.
Or at the playground or at soccer practice, right? So visualize success today, and more importantly, feel it first and have that state there. And the last part is just be still, be present. And, this is something that, we're talking about Melissa at Whole30, that she kind of freaked out the first time I took her through it at the gym because she's like, people are staring, it's weird. And it's honestly, it's a better opportunity because you're going to listen to the gym in a way you've never heard before, right? You can hear the weights move, you can hear people breathing, you can hear the own rise and fall of your breath. You I like doing it outside a lot, so I can hear the birds chirping, the kind of nature waking up. And once you're done with that, your state is completely changed. So no matter what happens the rest of the day, you can choose your reaction, and it's probably going to be okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. I think that's super powerful, and I really love those 4 steps. Like I said, the one that resonated with me the most, right. that light, because I just remember how much joy it literally brought me. I could almost feel myself like lifting
What is your sister? How old is your sister?
The mat. She's 2 years younger. She's 21.
She's 21.
Yeah. Does
she know you're lifting her up some?
I probably should have told her that day, but we're really close and have a good connection and stuff like that, and I help her out any way I can. But one thing, we have a few more questions left. One thing I did make sure I wanted to touch on was, you lived in Florida and everybody knew who you were, right? Everybody to an extent. You're walking around. There's Todd McCullough, played linebacker, University of Florida, and then you moved to California where nobody knows who you were. I kind of want you to talk about moving to a place where nobody knows who you were and kind of what that did for you.
Yeah, so for those of you in the small towns in the South, you know what it's like. If you're in Alabama, you're growing up dreaming of playing football at Auburn or Alabama. And when you're a starting football player for the University of Florida, Gainesville's a small town. Most people recognize, and you get there's perks to that. It feels good. Everyone likes recognition, right? And then even when I was working in finance in Merrill Lynch in Jacksonville, it was still you're Todd the football player. And there were a lot of Florida Gators. I remember seeing some of these guys who played, and I'm so proud to be a Florida Gator, but they just kept reliving these old moments as a football player. And I'm like, I'm 20-something years old. Yeah. There's a lot of life left. I do not want to be known just as Todd, the football player. Mm-hmm. And so I went to somewhere where no one gave a shit about Florida football. Yeah. No one they had Kobe Bryant and the Lakers. No one gave a shit about Todd McCullough. Waiting in lines again.
Were you excited about that part?
It was awesome.
Okay.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was great.
Okay.
It was nice.
Yeah. So what do you think it kind of made you do? Because I kind of moved here from Atlanta after having gone to University of Georgia, and I felt like I wanted to go to a place where nobody knew who I was, not because of I had any bad relationships or anything like that. It was just where I kind of wanted to rebuild myself to an extent.
Right. Well, it's kind of me moving to Nashville now.
Yeah. Right? There you go.
So things were really good in LA. Mm-hmm. Life was good. I'm not saying I won't go back. For me, there's like this intuition where you're not growing not in necessarily business, but as a human being.
Okay.
And I felt like I just wasn't growing as a human being in Jacksonville at that age. And then I kind of the last 2 years or so felt that way in LA.
Okay.
And was like, let's go somewhere different for a year. Yeah. Worst case, you come back to Southern California. You know what that's like. Just go somewhere for a year. And I feel like every now and then, at least for me, I have to make things uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And who knows what comes from that. And you really never see it in the moment, but there's no doubt 5 years from now I'm going to look back at this Nashville experience, whether I'm here or who knows where, and it's going to be a good thing.
That's awesome. So last 2 questions I always ask everybody, all guests who come, is, so how old are you now?
I turned 36 a couple of days ago.
Okay, awesome. Well, happy belated birthday. I didn't know that.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
So 10 years down the road, you're going to be 46.
Yep.
I'm sure you got goals and dreams and aspirations about what you want to do, what you want to accomplish and create.
Very clear.
So what does 46-year-old Todd McCullough look like? What has he done? What has he accomplished?
Well, I have very clear goals, but I also know the fact the more I play, the more God laughs too. That to be true.
Okay.
Well. But I would say this. So 46, 10 years from now, I have found the woman that I want to share my life with. We have started a family. That to me is ultimate priority. I love T-Mac Fitness and still think I'll definitely be doing some version of that. What that looks like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
It'll be something uplifting and helping people. And most likely the woman I'm going to share my life with will have some part of that as well. And we're raising a family, and we're built tight-knit communities. I mean, to me, the one thing that one of the missing parts of wellness that not a lot of people are talking about, in my opinion, like we've kind of bought into the movement, exercise,
for sure.
We've bought into eating healthy for the most part, right? But the part, the South has got a long way to go on the eating part. But the part of the South and the Midwest is nailed. That I think a lot of us on the coast could learn is community and relationships. I think that honestly, the deeper your social connections, the stronghold of that is just as important as the workouts you do and the food you eat. And I think that's a missing part of wellness. So when I say 10 years from now, I see myself, again, being a father, being a husband. Hopefully T-Mac's expanded to a lot larger than it is now, or just helping more people. But it's a really tight-knit group of people that you barbecue with on the weekends, people you vacation with. I got back recently from a great trip from Hawaii with some friends. Doing life with good people.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, I could give a shit if you're a plumber or the Pope.
Right.
But just doing life with good people, I think, to me, that is what success looks like 10 years from now, and hopefully for the rest of my life.
That's awesome, because I'm similar in the same way, whereas, like, if the more you plan, the more God laughs.
Yep.
Because I think the things that I think last week that I was going to do this week aren't even the same.
Right.
So you can only plan so much, but I think those big picture things were really good. But
I was saying, like, I think, again, for those who are out there, when you're trying to figure it out, right, and I still am too, I haven't figured it out, like, you're throwing shit at the wall, right, and you're seeing what sticks, but when you start with the right purpose, like something that, just, again, I go back to, do you want to contribute to the world? Like, this is your legacy you want to leave to the world. You're going to throw a lot of things at the wall, but if it's around that same premise, you're eventually going to figure out where there's a market for it and where it really helps people. And these 20-minute workouts started as 50. Like, I thought 50 minutes because that's what I did.
Right.
But I realized that 50 minutes was too long for the majority of busy mom and dads at home. Mm-hmm. So we ended up chopping it to 20. I never would have thought I'd be doing 20-minute workouts. Yeah. So for those of you at home, you feel frustrated. I've been there. I know what it's like. Just as we were talking about, control what you can control. Start your day in the right mindset. And keep plugging away.
Very good. Well, before I ask the last question, I want to acknowledge you for a second for, one, getting off your ass right after, getting up from after being laid off at Merrill Lynch. I think that one thing I've heard recently from a guy named Ed Milet is that everybody's going to get knocked down and everybody's going to get back up.
Right.
It's just about how long. Yep. It's about get off your butt now. Right. If you're going to get up at some point, you might as well do it now. And I think you did a really good job of that, hustling right off the bat, and coming from such a genuine place of figuring out for yourself, realizing it works for you, realizing it could work for others, and then go trying to spread that love and everything to the world. I think that's awesome.
Well, kudos to you for what you're doing. I'm sure what you're doing is definitely going to help people now and years down the road. I'm excited to see what you build.
Well, I appreciate it. But last question I ask everybody is, company's name is Best You. That's the name of the podcast. My passion is to help people become the best version of themselves. I don't like that cliche, but because I really want to help people, get the tools of actually how to do that. Mm-hmm. So the question I want to ask you is, for you personally, what are 3 things that you could do or that you could work on to become that best version of yourself, to be that best Todd McCullough?
So 2 things I definitely know, right? And it's each day, it's move and connect.
Okay.
I have to move first thing, and I have to take time to connect. Way before social media.
Connect with what?
My spiritual practice to God, right? Like I said, create the space to hear God. That, to me, are the 2 things I have to do every day for me to be my best self. The third part, that's a good one. I wish it was just 2. The third one I would say is it's time for me to be a better manager of T-Mac Fitness.
Okay.
And empowering people. Let T-Mac Fitness the tools, the things we have to help build other leaders.
Okay.
We've started doing that. We've got 2 great trainers teaching beginner level content and to uplift them.
Gotcha.
It's as much as right now the brand is me. I'm looking forward to lifting up others.
Yeah.
And again, removing the self. And it's not all about you.
100%. Well, those are 3 awesome ones. I love that one that you came up with there at the end, because you kind of realize that you're a pretty good leader and that you need to want to bring others kind of up with you to spread it and even scale it even more. So that's awesome. That's all we got, man. I really appreciate you coming in. I had a great time.
Go Gators.